what I'd like to do is introduce to you the first case study of the afternoon, followed by the second case study. The first one, how many of you have tried using a Lark before? How many of you know what a Lark is? Oh, we have 1, 2 people, 3. How many of you know what a Lark is? Put your hand up. Well, you're about to find out. So, Julia, who is the founder and CEO. I'm looking for your bio, hold on. I thought I had it, but no, I don't. No. Of a company called Lark, which she started, and I would tell you if this page would turn. Julia, where are you? What's going on? There you are. All right, so this is all about something that I need a lot right now, which is sleep. Having been, Julia herself, having been too often sleep deprived and woken up at unearthly hours, I don't know, imaginable by what. Guys, you talk to him if you want to change the screen. So Julia Hu's goal is to make people happier with better sleep. As a serial entrepreneur, she is focused on growing early-stage startups in the consumer products and clean tech space. Prior to Lark, she was with the National Sustainability Chair for Global Startup Incubator, the Clean Tech Open. She also ran marketing at China for consumer products, Delight Design, which I am familiar with, Julia. Very cool. Julia has received her master's and bachelor's from Stanford and has half of her MBA from MIT Sloan because she's a dropout. And they're nice enough to include her as a case study and a speaker. You're so delinquent, Julia. I love it. Welcome, and please join us on the stage.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. Let me see if I can get this. All right. Does that work? Can we get some technical help here? Thanks. Well, while he's doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about why I'm talking to you guys about building a team. Because I think all of us know that if we're going to change the world and we're going to work with people who probably we see more than our husbands, wives, children, sadly. I mean, this is going to be your lives, and you know, it's definitely worth it to build a team that you actually love, and it makes the day-to-day worth it. So I want to tell you a little bit about us, so you can see the framework of where I'm coming from. But I started a company called Lark, and we try to improve your lives through sleep. So when I moved in with my fiance, I totally fell deeply into sleep problems. He used to wake me up at 5:30 a.m. every morning and snooze and snooze and snooze, and I lost about a quarter of my sleep. And he never really believed in sleep too, that it was part of his life, that it was an important part of his life. So we created Lark. Lark is a completely silent way to wake up. It wakes you up in a very natural feeling way, so you snooze 80% less. And it's a product that you wear on your wrist. And then we started thinking, wow, this is something that we could actually help people sleep better with. So we started working with the top sleep experts in the world. And one of them, Sherry Ma, is just incredible. She coaches NBA stars and Olympians and NFL stars to be in peak performance shape through sleep. And the way that she does it is she puts a $3,000 sleep monitor on everyone. And she looks at their particular sleep patterns, and she coaches them individually on improving their sleep. So we pretty much put her on the iPhone and made this wireless product for everyone. So it's a sleep monitor, and the moment you wake up, we can tell you the easiest ways for you in particular to improve, because everyone has a different sleep architecture. So our team is extremely interdisciplinary, and that's where I'm coming from. And so that's our team today. We've been out for about a year and a half. And our team has grown from just 2 of us. So today I want to really focus on the 4 things that I think everyone should learn. And this is all through my own trials and tribulations and some of my friends as well. But there's absolutely 4 things in a cycle to growing and building a team. And that is, who do you hire? So figuring out exactly who you want to hire and how you hire those people. And then how you grow a team. And then, sadly, how you fire, because that's absolutely part of the cycle. The key thing that I learned that I didn't really realize until I became a founder and CEO was that this is never in stasis. You are always building and rebuilding a team. It is always morphing, and you're optimizing for that part of your life stage. So first is who to hire. And the real question for who to hire is actually, what does your company stand for? So strip out everything. I know a lot of you guys are aspiring and very successful serial entrepreneurs. So really understand, at the core of your company, what does your company stand for? And what I want to pose to you is that you can probably take the 3 or 4 most important things that represent your company. These are your defensible strengths. So, you know, if you did one thing really well or a few things really well, these are the things that you should do really well. And that will inform your first hires. So for us, it was something through sleep expertise. It was a great user experience and behavior change, and wearable technologies and mobile technologies. So that actually informed my first hires. I had a sleep expert that talked to a D-school designer and design thinker. I had a hardware engineer that tied up with a mobile engineer. And these were my first 4 hires. So you want to stay lean, because otherwise, you know, you'll just hire people because they're great or you really like them. And that's a good screen, but you really want to stay focused. So you want to stay lean, and in the beginning, you want people who work like a dog, work as hard as you do, and will build a company with you. Because sadly, it is exactly at the point when you have the least resources, you have very little money, you have very little social proof, you have no product, you have an idea, and it is exactly at that point that you cannot settle. You really have to find the aces and the rock stars to grow this team with. So it's really hard because, you know, you can't offer them anything else except the dream. And so the things that I've learned that are critical is you want to look for understanding. Startups are a beast, and a different beast. And if I had known one question to ask before I started my startup, it would have been, what does a startup mean to you? And if I had asked that question and really took it seriously, I probably wouldn't have had my first failure in my company, which was my first technical co-founder that I brought on. You know, wonderfully smart, talented guy who really was committed to the startup, but felt like a startup was a 9-to-6 job, that a startup was stable, that a startup meant that he could go back to the East Coast to live while I raised money out here. And that just wasn't what a startup meant to me. And so you really have to understand, you know, people who are, you know, ready for startups are people that you want to choose. The second is, because you have no money and you don't have that many resources, you're trying to find people who will join you in this quest. And the crazy thing is you can't settle, but you should be flexible. In the beginning, you will have to work harder to change yourself and change the other person to fit an optimal relationship. And what I mean by this is you really have to be flexible in moving them around in a job that will actually fit their strengths. I had a great woman come to me and said, you know, she does social media, she did marketing, she does some design. And so I let her do all of these things, and she was pretty good at them. But I suddenly realized that she had this amazing, amazing power to translate science and engineering into an art and an experience. And I decided I really want to focus and channel all her energy in creating our personal sleep coach. And this was really hard in the beginning because she had a lot of different interests and she had a lot of different talents. But once you find that role, I actually built a team, a product management team around her, just so she could stay focused and be excellent at what she did best. And sometimes these are not things that they know what they're good at. So it's your job as the leader to really figure out what people are super good at. So the bottom line is you really want to start off with the right people, because people don't change easily. You don't change that easily. And so you want to hire people. And you can bring in some rock stars as well. So we all have amazing mentors and advisors. I've used them in a different way. I've actually brought them into our team because these are people who've had the experience, they've been there, they've done that. They don't know if they want to risk 100% of their time to be with a little startup, but they might risk a day a week. And maybe that day a week turns into 3 days a week. And this is a great way to bring luminaries into the field, treat them like your team, and give them responsibilities, and actually have them do and not just advise you. So how to hire? What I think this is really a question of is, who are you as a leader, and what are your values? I think that there's one thing when you're just starting out and your idea is so precious to you. I would really, really say, be out there, be bold, and just share your ideas. You will get hurt. I shared my ideas early on, and there were some other companies that cropped up because of it. But it's okay, because people, for the most part, are really good. They're good people, and the more you share, the more you will get back. So I feel like it's really important to do that and to take risks in trusting people. I trusted one of my first technical hires, brilliant guy, hardware engineer. And he was great until one day he left for Poland, took all of our hardware and ran away and forgot to tell me that he got deported. That was my first engineer. And it's okay, I can laugh about that now because everyone goes through these tragic things. And the one thing that saved me, though, was the 1-year cliff. And the 1-year cliff is a legal perspective that everyone should know about. It's that if the person joins your team and doesn't stay for a year, they don't get equity. And you should put yourself in those shoes too. So I'm on a 1-year cliff, and everyone else on the team is on a 1-year cliff. It gives you the ability to give more freely, give equity more freely, but also understand the real vetting process is that year, that first year. The second tip that I love is something that came to me in our 8th hire, maybe our 9th hire. And it was amazing because we at that time, we used to shove all of our, each team member into an interview with a new person. And everyone at the end would tell me yay or nay. And even at the 9th team member, every single person who came in, even though they were great people and candidates, it would be a unanimous yay or nay. So I suddenly realized that we had these values that were understated. They were assumptions that everyone knew, but no one talked about. If you can articulate those values of what you represent as a leader and what you want to grow your company into, that will be a very, very good metric by which to judge who you hire. So finally, you're at this point where you can start growing a team. And I think that one of the key things for me has been, how do I use external parties? And I want to really, really contrast contractors versus partners. Contractors are people where you're like, I have a scope, I have a time limit, I have some money, go do it. You have expertise, great work. And then there are partners. Partners are really, really special. They allow you to grow synergistically with them. And they're people that you trust implicitly to grow something new. And this is something that was really special for me. In fact, I dropped out of MIT Sloan when I had no money, not a built team yet, and no prototype really yet. But it was because of these partners. So PCH is a company that manufactures some of the world's largest brands. And thousands of people. And we're a tiny little startup. I mean, at that point, we were really, really early stage. I talked to the CEO, and I was like, I want to build this company. And he said, I've always wanted to work with startups because I believe that we can disrupt the startup hardware chain, and I want to create the YC for hardware startups. And I all of a sudden said, oh, wow, I've ran an incubator before. I think I could help with that. So we had a handshake. And from that moment on, in 1 year, he allowed us to scale internationally to all Apple stores in 20 languages, like 25 countries. And it was that partnership that allowed us to do that. It was a handshake deal. It wasn't about money. It was us helping them create the PCH Accelerator and them helping us create a brand and create a company. You want some people who can actually take risks with you and be okay if you fail. So the last part that I want to talk about is how to fire and who to fire. And it's, I think, the hardest part of the job, but an essential part of the job. People are so scared of firing people. It's as if I've heard through research that doctors hate telling their patients that they will die, that it's a terminal disease. It's kind of the same fear. CEOs and leaders do not want to fire, but it's, try to work on it, but at the end of the day, firing is a tool that will make everyone happier. And they deserve it too. They deserve to be in places where they're happy. So you don't want to grow until the problem is so enormous. And one of the key things that I've found was really hard, and I'm still learning this lesson, in fact. I'll tell you a recent story. The one thing that I learned is you should never feel like someone else is doing you a favor, and that favor is second rate, but it's okay because it's a favor. We had a software engineering team that was an outsourced team in Romania. The CEO said, don't worry, I will defer payments for as long as you need. And I said, oh, that's so gracious of you. I'm so grateful for that. But the product that they were creating wasn't top-notch. And yet I felt like I couldn't speak out, and I couldn't, actually confront him with these problems because I was the one receiving the favor. And so, we kept on going, and we kept on going until finally, things were about to break, and I said, we have to part ways. But I fired too late. I should have fired 5 months earlier. And so these are things that you really want to realize, that firing is something that is healthy, that is part of the process, and you can fire without burning bridges. But if you fire too late, that's when you start burning bridges. So I really hope that you guys go make a great team, because it really is the team that makes it worthwhile. And I hope that each of you find a team that you want to fight for and want to build great things with. If you can't find one, join ours. This is our information, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. That was great. So we will open the floor to a few questions. I see the first hand here.
Julia, my question about putting together a team is how do you structure benefits, compensation, and equity?
Sure. So the question was, how do you structure benefits, compensation, and equity?
It's easier to do it in stages.
Sure, sure. And yeah, all right. So, so incentives is really important, and you want to find the people that are attracted to your incentives at the stage of the company. So you guys have all heard of the risk-reward phase. In the beginning, there is a lot of risk. There should be a lot of reward in terms of potential for payout. So what that means is you want people who are willing to risk their lives, who can live on the couch and eat ramen, and are willing to take that long-term vision with you and do that risk. So in the beginning, you don't have real money to offer. So that's probably going to solve your problem first. In the beginning, it's going to be very low cash. It's going to be high equity. High equity, especially for people who are indispensable. So when I talked about find your defensible strengths, give the most equity to people who really represent your defensible strengths. As you go down, people who are joining mid-stage startups, they want stability. So give them stability. That might be in the form of either working hours or cash compensation. So you really want to pick people at the stage of your company that will be attracted to your incentive packages.